restarting and reinventing the Collingswood and Oakland Public Schools. And tonight we're specifically targeting Zane North Elementary School. So we'd like to welcome you here to this evening presentation. We also like to thank our board members for coming, Ms. Sheridan and Mr. Roger. If you want to stand up and give a wave just so folks know who you are. Our board members are here. We also like to thank our staff members that have joined with us tonight, and we have PTA representatives and families. Thank you for joining us in the partnership. So at this time, I'm going to introduce Dr. McDowell, our superintendent, and then he's going to proceed with the presentation.
So good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here. So the first thing that we would like to do is we would like to thank you in advance for your patience and grace. Emphasis on patience. This has been a challenging time, not just for our school district or our community, but for the entire world. It's impacted us in numerous ways that we're still finding out about. And it is incumbent upon all of us to make sure that we are constantly checking in with one another, evaluating the things that we're doing and the strategies that are being implemented to determine whether or not they're effective, but also making sure that we are communicating what we're doing, why we're doing it, for the betterment of our students and our staff. So our continued theme is restarting and reinventing. We have one single-minded goal. How do we successfully open and keep open our schools in the safest way possible? This sometimes calls for us to be rigid, but it also gives us opportunities to be flexible given certain situations and some campuses. We have prided ourselves in Collingswood of being a site-based leadership district. What this means is that we honor and respect the uniqueness that each school brings within their school community, and therefore it's my fundamental belief as the district leader to give schools flexibility and opportunities to make a majority of the decisions that affect their day-to-day, in concert and in partnership with students, families, and staff. So upon entry into this space this evening, you were given a QR code. This QR code allows you to go to our Google site where we are capturing questions throughout the community. Based on how fast the news cycle is operating, the multiple sources of information that are coming in, and the 9 different sessions that we have been hosting over the last 2 weeks, we felt that it was important for us to have one clear, concise, and consistent message to send out to the community. We will be curating all of the questions that have come in. Right now, we have about 35 questions that have been generated by the community. We will be sending out a formal FAQ before the end of this month that accurately reflects the district's response and considerations based on such questions. So please, if you have lingering questions, you have concerns, please don't hesitate to add those using that QR code. If it is something that is extremely site-specific to Zane North, please contact Principal Santo. How are we organizing ourselves within the school district? For the last several months, we have been leveraging research and expertise from the Learning Policy Institute. This is a national think tank of education experts, medical professionals, policy and industry-specific professionals, community members, students, and the like, really focused on answering that question: how do we successfully restart and reinvent schools in the midst of a global pandemic? There were 10 core priorities that we have organized ourselves around as a school system. The first being closing the digital divide. We are very fortunate to be in a very diverse community. Our community is diverse not in race or class, but also in learning abilities. Some of our students are gifted and talented. Some of our students are right down the middle. Some of our students have learning differences. And we need to make sure that the digital divide is not a barrier preventing our students from being at their optimal levels. We also want to strengthen blended and distance learning. So despite the woes and the challenges with a rough rollout or launch of virtual learning, there are some things that we learned. There are some things that we will continue to improve upon. There are some things that we will refine, especially in areas where we have some students who thrived in a virtual environment, and we want to learn from that and bring pieces of that back into the classroom. assessing what students need and where students are. You've continually been bombarded for the last year about this concept of learning loss, learning loss, learning loss. Learning loss was really coined and framed by educational product companies in order to sell more products and services as a silver bullet to the pandemic. The way that we're looking at this concept is that we know that there are going to be gaps for some students, there are going to be areas of acceleration for others, and there's going to be unconfirmed things that students were able to acquire along the way. In 2018 and 19, we were not having sophisticated conversations with first graders about epidemiology, about contact tracing, about viral transmission. So in terms of the lexicon of vocabulary that our children have adopted over the last 2 years, I would argue that our children have learned a lot, sometimes too much. With the introduction of virtual learning and a whole host of additional digital resources, some of our students actually learned above and beyond what the curriculum requires and have moved into a phase where we need to accelerate their continued growth and development. Ensuring that there are supports for social emotional learning. We're very much still in the midst of a global pandemic. There was a news conference today exclusively for Camden County where we are in the midst of a viral surge. And every individual within our community and within our world has experienced trauma of some form or fashion. Social emotional learning are tools, resources, and strategies to help our students overcome barriers that they may be presented with upon the reentry into school that might serve as a roadblock to them being their best self. Our educators have been continually refining their strategies, their tools, and their resources in this area. And they will use their professional judgment in order to roll out our social emotional learning curriculum so that no child falls between the cracks and that students get the help that they require. Redesigning schools for stronger relationships. This is an extremely important component. Our children respond better when they have a close relationship with the educators in their space. We experimented this past summer with the introduction of summer camps. The purpose of the summer camps was single-focused. Give students a fun activity or set of activities while reestablishing critical connections amongst themselves as well as with the staff. I have had the opportunity to visit all 3 of our summer camp locations multiple days. Children are having an outstanding time. The staff are actually having more fun than the kids. So relationships really matter. I have given every campus the latitude and the flexibility for the entire first marking period, focus heavily on team building, relationship development, while formally and informally assessing what your children need. That means that the first marking term is going to look a little bit different than it has in the past. Trying to dig directly into content from the very beginning would be ill-advised, and that's not the strategy that we plan on implementing in September. We want to make sure that we are slowly reacclimating our children to the learning space, the structures, the demands of being in school all day, every day, while still building those critical relationships needed in order to truly assess where they are and what they need. Emphasizing culturally responsive learning. Being in a diverse community means that we have a wide range of need, and we also want to make sure that we are acknowledging and celebrating not just the needs, but the authenticity and the unique personalities that each of our children bring every day. Providing opportunities for expanded learning. As a district, we made the decision to earmark targeted funds from our stimulus for the sole purpose of accelerated learning and extended learning time. This does not mean that children should have more homework. What this means is that once we have appropriately identified where children are, using additional resources, opportunities, and the benefit of time in order to engage them where they are, to be able to help them move as quickly as possible, accessing grade level standards and content. Establishing community supports and wraparound supports. What this means is that schools have to support the needs of the community, and then the community's responsibility is to communicate those needs so that the school can be responsive. This is done in partnership with our community agencies, in partnership with our business community, in partnership with our PTAs and our other parent and family groups and our other advocacy organizations that all service and support the Collingswood, Oakland, and Woodland school area. Preparing our educators for the reinvention of schools. We have a phenomenal team at Zane North. Can we actually give our educators who are in the room another round of applause, please? I've been in this business for the last 20 years, and I can speak with the utmost confidence that no educator on the planet signed up to be an educator in the midst of a global pandemic. I can say that with the utmost confidence. But what I can say is, having benefited from working across the country, having colleagues who lead districts across the country, is that we have some of the best educators in the country. I've witnessed and experienced firsthand, through observation, through intensive data review, and through direct interaction with our educators, they care deeply about our children. They go above and beyond on a daily basis and bend over backwards to make sure that children are getting what they need. That has to continually be celebrated. When we think about how do we prepare our educators have been preparing. Our job at the district is to make sure that they have the tools, the resources, and the flexibility that they need, and to be treated as professionals to make those daily situational decisions based on what's in the best interest of the students under their care. That will continue to be our district philosophy and strategy. Ensuring that we have appropriate funding and flexibility to make sure that things are equitable across the district. Equity is sometimes confused with equality. So equity, by our definition, is that every child gets what they need to be successful to meet the standard. What this means is that we have to think more flexibly about how we allocate resources, about where we divide our time, and about what accommodations we make in order to ensure that children are able to meet that need. And we will continue to do that. Sources of information. Hotly debated topic. I'll start with where we do not get our sources of information from. We do not get our sources of information from Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, Instagram, social media. We are aware of those social media platforms and the damaging effects that they have in some cases, the positive effects that they have in others, but that is not where we get our sources of information. We do, however, get our sources of information from the New Jersey Department of Public Health, the CDC, the World Health Organization, the American Academy of Pediatrics. In addition, and this is extremely important for the community to understand, community conversations. We had a host of community-based conversations that took place at every campus. Families were involved, students were involved, educators at every campus were involved. The second phase of those community conversations is that schools were participated in a strategy where they had the opportunity to calibrate and engage in meaningful discussion aligned to two core priorities: teaching and learning, health and safety. Every single campus put forth targeted recommendations that they believe, based on their unique circumstances, would get us to our intended or stated goal, which is a safe return to full-time instruction. And we then used the bulk of that content and the bulk of those responses and recommendations in the reopening plan that was submitted on August 4th. And we will continue to go back to our educators who were closest to the challenges for their continued feedback and the refinement. Our reopening plan, please consider this an evolving document. As new information comes out, we will make adjustments. We will not, however, make adjustments daily. I preface at the beginning is that the news cycle is like drinking from a fire hose. Too much information, and we have to be a bit more discerning as a school district, because within our care is 2,500 children and 500 staff members, and we have to make sure that we not only are filtering out the information that is mis or disinformation, but that we are being mindful of how do we communicate any and all changes to our community, and how are we building capacity so that it is a smooth transition once a change is necessary. So we will continue to do that. The reopening plan as of today is our plan for September 8th. As changes become necessary, we will make sure that we communicate that to our school communities, both as a district and site-specific. Will students be required to wear masks? The answer is yes. Per the latest guidance from the CDC, the American Academy of Pediatrics, as well as Executive Order 251 from the Governor's Office, masks are required for all individuals ages 2 and older, regardless of vaccination status. This is a non-negotiable expectation that we will have in every one of our campuses. So we will continue to make sure that we are providing multiple layers of protection for our students and our staff, but this is one of those areas that right now, in the midst of a surge, is one of the greatest strategies that we have in our toolbox. Students will not be required to wear masks during lunch. They will not be required to wear masks when they're outside. Masks will be optional. For children who are comfortable, remove your mask. For children who are uncomfortable, or for family members that are uncomfortable and have given their children a directive to keep their mask on, that'll be the choice of the family once they're outside. For our youngest learners in preschool and kindergarten, during rest time, children will also remove their masks. Will accommodations be made? Absolutely. Accommodations are a conversation and collaboration between families first, our medical professionals, so the physicians, child study team, case managers, and school nurses. This will be done on a case-by-case basis. We know that we have children with learning differences. We know that we have children with sensory challenges and issues. We know that we have children that are medically fragile. So we will look at each and every child as an individual, and an individual accommodation will be made for those children. Will students need to socially distance? Yes, to the greatest extent possible. In our school district, it is no mystery, it is no secret that we have challenges with infrastructure. Our elementary schools, the youngest elementary school is about 60 years old. These buildings were never built to facilitate a global pandemic. They were never built to facilitate social distancing, and therefore we are challenged social distancing in some spaces. We are also heavily subscribed in every one of our elementary schools. So in order for us to socially distance, we will socially distance to the greatest extent possible. Where this will manifest most often is in our cafeteria spaces, which you'll hear more about later, and then in our large open meeting spaces. So in many cases, students will not be able to socially distance per CDC guidance, but that layer of protection will be the continued disinfectant of shared spaces, the universal wearing of masks, and the frequent washing of hands, and then access to hand sanitizer in the hallways and in every classroom. Will lunch be served at school? I also preferenced at the beginning of this meeting is that our single-minded goal was full-time, in-person instruction. This means that lunch will be served. It does mean that we will be using flexibility, so every campus, lunch is going to look a little different, but we will be focused on ensuring that children not only have lunch, but they have it in a way that significantly reduces risk, but also provides that benefit of a full day of instruction. So we will be going back to full days of instruction with lunch, in addition to making sure that students receive the full academic program in our schools. I want to highlight this because I think that any of you that have ever stepped on Zane's campus, those of you who have not stepped on the campus, if Nurse Patty could raise her hand, she is here with us. In Collingswood, some of the unsung heroes, both pre, during, and post-pandemic, are our school nurses. School nurses have a special place in my heart. My grandmother was a nurse. My mother-in-law is a retired nurse. My sister-in-law is a nurse. And so to grow up with nurses in the family on both sides, constant conversations about health and safety and wash your hands and clean your ears and cover your mouth when you cough, all of those things, that was routine conversation at the dinner table. Our nurses are the primary leaders for all things health and safety. They are refining processes and protocols. They are at the table in terms of leadership decisions, and we will continue to go to them as medical professionals to help us get through this pandemic. How are we maintaining healthy facilities? This answer will be best met by our Director of Facilities, Mr. Keith Higginbotham, where he will talk about all of the investments that our school board has made over the last several years and continues to make in order to ensure that our buildings are healthy places where children can learn. Keith?
Good evening, everyone. So August is half over, and beginning of school is quickly approaching. Buildings and grounds crew is doing their normal summer cleaning routine, making sure the buildings are sparkling for when students and staff return. As you are aware, the start of last year, we were under restrictions as far as distancing between classrooms, so we did our best to get creative with furniture storage and trying to keep desks 6 feet apart. Over spring break, we were allowed to go back to 3 feet distancing, and this summer we've pulled all of the furniture out of storage and set the classrooms up in a more traditional manner while trying to maintain social distancing to the greatest extent possible within the rooms. We are going to continue to follow the recommended cleaning procedures set forth by the Department of Health and the CDC. All of our disinfectants that we use for cleaning have been utilized, are rated to kill SARS and COVID. We are making sure that they're being used in the proper manner, that if it needs a 2-minute dwell time to lay on the surface to properly disinfect it, that's the procedure that we're following. We've increased the frequency of high touch areas such as doorknobs, handrails, emergency exits on doors. Those areas are being wiped down multiple times throughout the day when school is in session. We've also installed touchless automatic hand sanitizer units in all the classrooms and in the hallways and gyms, all-purpose rooms, and such areas. They are filled with a hand sanitizer product that contains at least 60% alcohol, which again is the recommended ratio for it'll kill claim for the SARS virus. We've also invested in electrostatic sprayers, the Green Victory sprayers. You may have seen some of the custodians throughout last year walk around with the backpacks. They're utilized in larger areas such as this, where it's impractical to go and wipe each individual armrest down, so we would hit them in a large area with that machine to make sure that they were disinfected. As far as ventilation requirements, I want to talk to you a little about the American Society of Heating, Refrigeration, and Air Conditioning Engineers, that's ASHRAE. ASHRAE oversees all of the ventilation standards for new construction and renovation. That's who the architects and engineers look up to follow protocols on how to design air handling systems throughout public buildings. So we are following ASHRAE's recommendations as far as building occupancy and what to do to reduce transmission. We have increased the inspections of our units and maintenance protocols. Typically, air handlers would be serviced 6 months or yearly. We've bumped up our preventive maintenance schedule to ensure that all units are checked at a minimum of monthly, so that way we can stay on top of any issues and take corrective action and hopefully not have any equipment down. Ventilation is suggested that we turn the air handlers on 2 hours prior to times of building occupancy and leave them run for 1 hour after the buildings are vacant to increase the airflow throughout the areas. We have taken that a step further and increased the run times to 24 hours a day during all periods of building occupancy. So for the elementary schools, that typically means 5 days a week. For the middle school and high school, that typically means 6 or 7 days a week. Whenever there's somebody in the building, the air handlers will be running 24 hours a day to bring in as much fresh air as possible. Filtration, we have installed MERV 13 and high-efficiency filters in all of our makeup air units. In areas where we could not install MERV 13 filters because of reduced airflow with the units not functioning properly, we've put the highest ventilation filters in that we can. And we've also put HEPA filtration units into interior classrooms that do not have windows, where we were concerned that we weren't getting the proper ventilation and filtration we needed. Those units, again, are inspected on a monthly basis, and the filters are replaced per manufacturer's recommendations. We've also invested some of the CARES Act funds to purchasing bipolar ionization units to be installed in the cafeteria all-purpose room air handlers. Bipolar ionization works by creating an electrostatic charge within the airflow. This causes any viruses, mold, spores, pollutants, contaminants, dust, anything that's floating around there to be electrostatically charged, so the particles stick together and form larger particles that are more easily trapped in the filtration media. So it increases the efficiency of the unit filtration-wise. We've also ensured through the manufacturer that they meet UL standards for low ozone generation. So they're certified to meet the highest UL standards, which is less than 5 parts per billion. I know there was some concern at the beginning of last year in several districts in North Jersey that purchased hydroxyl generator units in an effort to try to do the same thing, clean the air in areas where they weren't getting proper airflow. The problem with those units is it was found that they do create ozone, which is an indoor air pollutant, and it's no good. So we assured that these units are not going to produce any noticeable ozone, and that they're safe to use during times of building occupancy. I've also received some questions as to windows throughout the district. We are going to continue to follow New Jersey indoor air quality protocols. Recommendation at this time is that the windows remain closed. All of our makeup air for all of our occupied spaces comes through air handling units, and all of our outside air is run across a filter media. So that by ensuring that the makeup air is run across the filter media, we reduce the chance to introduce any possible asthma triggers or any allergens into the classroom space. So we are being cognizant of the keeping the air as healthy as possible for students and staff that may have allergies or asthma. So unless we have an unforeseen problem with the unit being shut down, in which case we would try to relocate occupants into an area that does have a functioning air handler. If we are unable to do that, as a last resort, we will open the windows, but for the time being, we're going to keep the windows closed to make sure everything goes across the filter media, and we're providing the cleanest, safest air possible in the occupied spaces. So thanks for listening. Thanks for coming out tonight. Appreciate it.
Hello, my name's Jen Floyd, and I am Collingswood and Oakland's preschool through 3rd grade instructional supervisor. And on behalf of the instructional leadership team, I would like to share the philosophies associated with how we will approach the social, emotional, and academic learning that will take place across the schools this year, with our goals to meet every student where and how they learn best. However, before I begin, I need to take advantage of this opportunity to share a small personal note. Many, many years ago, under Mr. Santo and with many of the teachers in the room, I student taught at Zane North. And please don't tell any other school in the district, but I promise you, your school of educators are extraordinary and your children are in wonderful hands. So just don't tell anybody else I said that. The Collingswood and Oakland school districts take pride, I'm so worried about my secret. The Collingswood and Oakland school districts take pride in understanding the individual needs of our students alongside the goals and expectations of the New Jersey Student Learning Standards. We believe that teaching to the whole child means understanding that assessment of daily learning goals holds great value in promoting student growth and achievement. As we promote the New Jersey Department of Education's aspirations towards the road forward, we will begin the school year focusing attention on social emotional wellness in addition to your child's academic needs. Our elementary schools regularly assess student learning of concepts aligned to state standards through indicators of understanding, which are embedded in our curriculum. Our educators use a range of specific programs and assessment tools to determine student growth and progress and to assist students in determining their individual learning goals. In the area of mathematics, elementary schools will be using Go Math and Imagine Learning, which you may be familiar with from at home. In the areas of literacy, we will use performance-based assessments and learning progressions to promote daily learning experiences, as well as programs such as Foundations, everybody will be tapping again this year, Fontes and Pinnell, and the Teachers College Reading and Writing Project's units of study. During science and social studies, we will be using mystery science. You'll hear a lot from Doug again on those phone calls on the screen. You will also be learning a lot about the discussions we have in school about current events and many historically significant concepts. New Jersey Department of Education has made available the Start Strong assessment in grades 4 through 5 in English, language arts, and mathematics. These assessments are available to assist districts as they prepare for the return of the New Jersey Student Learning Assessments in the spring of 2022. As we return to school this September, our foremost responsibility is to create an environment where our students, families, and staff feel valued and supported. Our leadership team continues to prepare. We want to assure that every family that we will lead by example, remain flexible in our approach, and continue to advocate for what is best for every child in our care. We remain committed to keeping the social-emotional learning environment at the heart of all of our practices and look forward to many rewarding, engaging, and fulfilling experiences with your child throughout the 2021 and 2022 school year. Fingers crossed that we won't be hearing the words, "You're muted," while we're doing it. All right, very exciting. At the elementary level, we will have our special subjects back in the classroom. I know all the kids are very excited. Parents are excited as well. Starting in September, vocal music, instrumental lessons, band, and art, along with the technology and the PE classes that we've once known and loved, will resume with, of course, the protocols to ensure safety of all students and staff members. Please look forward to information on how they will be introducing instruments throughout the elementary schools. As mentioned before, both Collingswood and Oakland remains committed to meeting the needs of all learners and will continue to provide a variety of tiered interventions and support for our community. We will do so by following a multi-tiered system of supports to identify and support academic, social, emotional, and behavioral areas. If you have any questions, you can contact Zane North's case manager or Mr. Santo. And lastly, for my section, I'm very excited to share that there was a group of our staff members that worked very hard to work on collaborating to further streamline our MTSS system this summer, and we will be all looking forward to that professional development this fall, so we are all further supporting our kids. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Floyd. So this is the time we can talk about Zane North as far as the practical application of what we're going to do with the kids in school. So as building principal, I just wanted to encourage you to join with us in our theme. Last year we had Choose Joy. Joy is a really important component for the instructional process and also for the collaborative spirit that we have at Zane North. Social emotional learning is very strong, as well as core content standards. So our theme this year, now is the time. We want you to look forward. We don't want you to look past. We want you to look forward to exciting things that we're going to do with your children. Now is the time to choose joy. And now is the time to celebrate learning. This is going to be a year of celebration for us at Zane North. And we're going to move forward in doing that celebration with your partnership and with your support. So let's celebrate learning. How are we going to do that? I encourage you to come to school with your children on time. We have a grace period. Dr. McDowell often refers to grace. We have a grace period from 8:15 to 8:30, but instruction begins promptly at 8:30. And I encourage you to have your children in their seat, ready to learn, so the teachers can begin the instructional process right at 8:30. Dismissal time will be at 3 o'clock. We have Mrs. Hagan. She's our crossing guard. If you're new to the Zane North community, make sure that you greet Mrs. Hagan as she's keeping your children safe across Lees and Stokes Avenue. Make sure that you follow the guidelines. Again, we're in partnership with the community, so we have the fire department that we work with, the police, they have yellow curbing, we have a nurse's spot that's reserved for Nurse Butler, and we would appreciate your compliance with borough guidelines. We wouldn't want anyone to be ticketed. And lastly, I would like to just remind you, please monitor your pets if you're coming to school and walking a dog. We do have children in preschool age. We do have children in the early primary grades that sometimes are a little afraid of pets. So if you're walking your dog, it's a public sidewalk, enjoy your friend, your pet, but please monitor their movement as your children are coming to school. If you're a visitor and coming to the school, we want to keep in mind that this year, we're going to continue the same framework we had last year, and that's by appointment only. If you do come in the building and you do have an appointment, masks are required. We ask you to sign in the main office. Staff member will come to the main office and guide you to your location. You're not to roam the building. Wait in the main office and we'll guide you to a safe zone. Then when time for you to leave, you'll exit at the main office by signing out and going out the main door exit. Drop off and pick up if you're a visitor, if you have your children forgot their lunch or they have an instrument. We would like to encourage responsibility. So if your children can be responsible and bring their lunch and their instruments, that's great. But children do forget sometimes, and that's why you're responsible parents to make sure that they encourage their activities by having their instruments and their lunch and whatever they need. So please come to the main office entrance. There'll be 2 plastic bins at the front. You can have a drop-off or a pickup bin. You can ring the bell on the right. Miss June is here tonight. If you don't know her, Miss June, you want to give a wave? She's our administrative assistant. We appreciate Miss June. She'll be there to greet you, to help you, to guide you, to support you. So that Mrs. June will help with that. And then also we just want to remind you, if you are coming and picking up, oftentimes some families will park the car right at the main door entrance, and that's prohibited. So you can just drop off and go out real quick, but parking at the main entrance is prohibited. That's a fire hazard. So we would like for you to keep your vehicles parked in the locations that are on the streets of Lees and Stokes Avenue. As far as entrances for the children, we're going to continue the same entrances that we had in the past year. We'll have 3 entrances. We're going to maintain social distancing. We're going to encourage the children to come in these entrances. If you have a preschool child, they're going to come in the main entrance. That's Mrs. Rothwell's class, Mrs. Curley's class, and Mrs. Diocella's class will be coming in the main entrance. That also is where the buses come by. So we want to keep those areas clear for bus transportation and safety. So again, the main entrance on Stokes Avenue, preschool, Mrs. Curley's class, and Mrs. Diocella's class. The Lees Avenue entrance exit area, that would be at the 8:15, 8:30 time, and also the 3 o'clock dismissal time would be kindergarten. If you're a kindergarten parent, your children are going to walk up that ramp. Mrs. Larimore will greet you. Your children will enter that kindergarten door. If you're in grade 1, you'll walk through the gate area on the track to the first door on the right, and that will be first grade class. And then going to grade 5, they're going to walk on the track, and they're going to the second door on the right. So again, Lees Avenue entrance and exit, kindergarten, grade 1 through the gate area to the first door on the right, and then grade 5 through the gate area to the second door on the right. And then the Stokes Avenue, which is the annex area, we welcome grades 2, 3, and 4. Those students will come in the annex area, and they'll be dismissed at the annex area at 3 o'clock, grades 2, 3, and 4. And again, we ask you to be prompt at the end of dismissal time. This year we do have a schedule where the teachers do leave at 3:15. Sometimes they're working with staff in collaboration of partnerships. So we want them to be able to dismiss their students, and if they have meetings or events after school that are planned, your cooperation will really help the teachers be able to move forward to plan for the next day. So thank you again for being responsible for arriving and for pickup time. Social emotional learning is an important part of our school day and back to school year, school life for all of us. That includes the administration, that includes the staff, that includes the students, and that includes parents as well. We want our parents in the Zane North community to take care of each other. And I'm going to give a promo for the PTA. They do a great job in supporting parents within our community, but we have to remember that we're models of social emotional learning to our children. And we as parents really need to not push that on the school as far as just the curriculum, but a part of the whole holistic experience that we have at Zane North. So social emotional learning, we begin at Zane North by addressing core values. We do that in a multifaceted way. We begin in September with the month of citizenship, where we build community. We go into the month of October, which is respect. It's anti-violence and vandalism. We go into the month of November, where we have cooperation, we have giving. So each month we have a core value, and then we integrate that and infuse that through the curriculum, through read alouds, through content-based activities. And you'll see here morning meetings where the teachers will address the students and address social and emotional needs of the students. We do have the curriculum improves instruction with supports. We have the CASEL standards that we'll be addressing, and we have student recognition that will be ongoing. At times, we've had assemblies. The assemblies are going to be on hold, but recognitions will be enforced, which basically means we're going to recognize students for their performance. We're going to recognize students not only for academic performance, but for who they are as individuals, their talent, their efforts, their abilities, their cooperation, their ability to be a good citizen. So we'll be going around the rooms like we did last year, recognizing students with certificates. It may not be in a whole assembly, but your children will be recognized and they'll be encouraged to rise up to the occasion with their talents and abilities. So child study team will support as well. We have Kim Petrushka. We have an intern for a child study team that'll supporting the children that have IEPs. We also have counselors at our school. The counseling team will also be helping students in the mainstream, so we can address those issues with the classroom teachers, and we can also support both special needs students and the mainstream students with a whole host of activities together. And we call that inclusion, where we include both special needs and the mainstream students together in social emotional activities. Last year, we did that by having international collaborations, and we did that with our friends in Turkey, and I had contact with friends in Egypt and as well as Qatar. And then for 4th and 5th grade, we had a really exciting exchange with our friends in Singapore. So I'm in contact with our international friends, and we want you to be encouraged to keep your children as 21st century learners. Global citizens is really important to understand the uniqueness that they have here in Collingswood, but at the same time, preparing for a future where they're global citizens and leaders. That's kind of like our mission at Zane North, and that's to be leaders for the 21st century. Also, another thing that we have completed, and that's the No Place for Hate program. That's the Anti-Defamation League, and we were invited to be part of that program. And we were so successful that they invited us back again. So we're really excited to be a part of that process. And I see Mrs. Rothwell here. She's our pre-K teacher, and she helped coordinate those No Place for Hate activities last year. And we're going to be moving forward with some initial initiatives this fall as well. Trimester 1 is going to be a little different. That's going to be the first trimester of the new school year. So we're excited. Again, now's the time to celebrate learning, and we're going to maintain our cohorts together. We can have outdoor assemblies and gatherings. We'll have events that we can plan for the children and allow them to mingle with each other, but in a structured, organized fashion. That'll be outdoors. Field trips typically happen in the spring, so we'll wait and monitor what the guidelines are, and they'll be discussed for the spring. And also the PTA's always been a part of providing support for those field trips. So we'll monitor that, and families will know how that's going to be held for the spring. Class parties will be on hold, and we have health, wellness, nutrition, and exercise as a part of the Zane community under direction of Nurse Butler and also Mr. Calderon, our PE and health instructor. So we have bottle filling stations, and we'll monitor the students' health, wellness, fitness, and nutrition in school. I know a big question for you is lunch. How's lunch and recess going to work? So if you can see this table here, what I kind of did was went to the cafeteria tables, and I put, so you can see a little green tape there. So that will be, our elementary schools, they can sit on the green tape. They'll know exactly where their spot is. They'll have assigned seats in the cafeteria, and we'll monitor how it works. So let's just see. Kids come in the cafeteria. Breakfast will be served in the breakfast will be served in the classroom. That's universal. Basically means there's no cost for folks that want to enroll in breakfast or lunch. The new caveat to lunch and recess this year is the lunch is 20 minutes. It's not a 30-minute lunch. As you know, in the past, we had 11:30 to 12, 12 to 12:30. All teachers had lunch from 11:30 to 12:30. This year, that has changed for health and safety reasons of the students and also for the staff. So we have 3 20-minute lunch sessions. In between the 20-minute lunch sessions, there'll be a 10-minute sanitation time. So what we developed is this. The students will come into the cafeteria for 20 minutes. They'll have assigned seating. There'll be social distances. You can see the cafeteria tables will be labeled for the students until they understand what their position and placement are. The NutriServe support team, and hopefully parents will join in this on a volunteer basis, will help with the distribution of student lunches. In other words, like when you go to McDonald's, you get a styrofoam box with the food in it. When the students come in the cafeteria, NutriServe or 2 volunteers from the PTA will place the lunch boxes on the tables for the students that are getting lunch. So when the students walk in the cafeteria, they'll sit in their seat, their lunch will already be there, they'll eat for their 20 minutes. If you have a snack, you will provide that for your children. NutriServe is not selling snacks this year, so the 20-minute time will be for them to eat their lunch in their box. Students will then walk back to the cafeteria for 5 minutes. So I'm going to repeat how it goes. The hour starts, 5 minutes in the classroom for the students to prepare themselves to walk to the cafeteria in an orderly fashion. They go in the cafeteria, sit down. We're also going to ask the children to bring their own lunch boxes with them. We're not putting them in a bin this year. So the kids will be in their room, 5 minutes with the lunch aide. They'll take their own little lunch box, walk to the cafeteria, sit down at their table with their box, or they'll sit down at their placement with the box provided by NutriServe, have the 20-minute session, close their little lunch box, or throw out their NutriServe box, get back up, walk in line back to the classroom for the other 5 minutes, and then they'll go outside for 30 minutes. So we're keeping recess to 30 minutes. So we have 20 minutes inside, 5 minutes transitioning, and then 5 minutes at the end transitioning, and then the 30 minutes outside. So it looks like a good plan. The thing is, it takes 3 sessions. So now your children will follow this schedule. So we have second, and third grade from 11:10 to 11:30. And then we have kindergarten and first from 11:40 to 12 o'clock because the blue shows the 10-minute cleaning time. And then 12 to 12:10, we have a 10-minute cleaning time. And then the last grades 4 and 5 come in. On the right-hand side, you'll see recess time. So we have the recess time for the children that start for K1, then for 2, 2, and 3, and then 4 and 5. So everyone has 30 minutes recess. Everyone has 20 minutes eating. Everybody gets the 10-minute sanitation time. And then there's the caveats of 5 minutes walking so they're not mixing cohorts and staying safe. We're excited about that because out on the living learning landscape, we have different areas where the children can play. So we kind of have 4 areas, just so you know. We have the playground area, we have the large amphitheater area, we have the barn area, which is the red barn area, and then we have the rain garden area. So we have 4 distinct areas where the children can play, and there will not be interaction with each other, and social distancing can easily be maintained. Outdoor instruction can take place outside, so the staff do that. They do that with activities, not always with technology, but we can have outdoor instruction as per curriculum guidelines. Nurse Butler, it guides us with that. Sometimes we have allergy indexes, or sometimes it's too cold or too warm. So she kind of guides it. She's not kind of our focal point on making sure that we can do that. But we do have instructional spaces outside. The amphitheater, as you know, that was a grant that we received, a $15,000 grant, and we were able to build that large amphitheater, and that's a constructed instructional space for student learning. So in the living learning landscape, it's recreation, but it's also instruction. That's a part of our holistic philosophy at Zane, instruction and recreation going together. So we have the rain garden, we have the amphitheater, we have strategically placed picnic tables. We have our new monarch butterfly garden. We just received 1 new table. We'll have a second one that could fit up to either 4 students or 8 students at a table, and we're really excited about that. And then we have the green space areas that can also be used as well. Sometimes the kids just like to sit on the grass and read a book. So we allow that to happen too. Denise Kurth, I'm not sure if she's here or if anybody else from the Living Learning Landscape team. Give a wave. And thank you so much for your support, because we are moving forward with some great initiatives this year. We have a grant submitted. We're waiting to hear if we're a recipient of that grant, and that will be a new project out in our Living Learning Landscape. If you want to join the green team or be part of that process, you can just email Denise Kurth. There is her email contact information. Some of the things that we do with that LLL team, it's an environmental focus. We plan strategically. We reinforce sustainability. We provide recreation and instruction. We also are involved in grant writing and looking for opportunities that we can enhance the instructional and the recreational space for our students. We've been able to get some supplies from Special Olympics for our special needs students. We received a $2,000 grant for that as well. So we're always looking for opportunities. If you have a contact or you network with someone, let us know, and we'll be glad to join you and partner with you so that we can enhance our environment for our students. So that's fundraising efforts that will enhance the LLL, as well as we need volunteers to join that team. And talking about volunteers, we have a great volunteer team I see right here, and that's our PTA Executive Board member team. You want to give a wave? We'd like to thank them for all their hard work. If you want to become a member of the PTA, it's very simple. You see the sign up right there. All you have to do is go to that link and then sign in. I can give you some of the details. Here are our officers for this year: President Ms. Loomis, Vice President Ms. Farrow, Treasurer Ms. Kessick, and Secretary Ms. Claire Tracy. So thank you again. They renewed their service. They were here last year. That doesn't always happen, but we have a really solid team that is moving forward with us. We're excited to work and partner with them. What do they work for? They work for you as a community. They want to partner with you. They want to connect with you. They want to support you. And they really want you to belong to the thriving, vibrant Zane North community. You can support the PTA simply by joining. It's a $10 membership, $5 for teachers, $5 for students, and be very engaged. So again, simply go to the site, sign up. I would encourage the Zane North community. Typically, we have 100% of the teachers and the staff members join the PTA at Zane North, 100%. We don't always have 100% of the families, but I would encourage you to join the PTA, and that will be a part of your process to have a voice in the Zane North community. And you are invited not just to be a member by paper, but to be a member by your active participation. We need your help. We need your support, and this executive board is welcoming you to opportunities to enhance your children's success at Zane North. And their Facebook there. These are opportunities that you have. You know, be a homeroom parent, you can be involved in the newsletter, the LL team. There's a whole host of things that you can be involved in, social events and the things that we have. So we'll monitor events, we'll post events, and we'll ask for your help and your support. So please join the team. That'll make a joy-filled environment for your children where we can celebrate learning with support and allow the teachers to do what they do best, and that's instruct and provide an environment of rich academic support and social emotional learning for your children. The last thing I want you to do is to look clearly at this. This is a specific need we have right now. And this is during the lunch hour. Since we have 3 lunch sessions of 20 minutes each, we put it this way. We need 2 volunteers daily to assist our cafeteria. Support NutriServe. Again, I mentioned previously, it will take place from 11 o'clock to 12:45. Masks are required. Basically, you're going to help the NutriServe person place the lunch on the table for the kids. They'll eat for 20 minutes. When they leave, you'll clean up the tables, wipe them down, help with the sanitation process, and then get the lunches for the next group. So simply put, if you want to do that, we actually, the board members created this link right here. Ms. Claire Tracy sent it to me today. So you have a link right there. You can sign up for a day. So maybe for the month of September, you want to do 4 Mondays in September. So you would just sign up Monday, week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. I'm hoping we could get 10 parent volunteers for a week. 2 on Monday, 2 on Tuesday, 2 on Wednesday, 2 on Thursday, 2 on Friday, and we can have that group for at least a month. So we'll have the same 10 people. We can bring you in. You can become friends with each other. And we can train you on how to set up the cafeteria. And then you guys can go off together and celebrate learning in your own way. So enjoy helping us, and we'll help you. But it's a good way to network with families and also to see your kids in school. So that is an opportunity right here. So we're organized. We're ready. We just need your help. So I invite you to join us during this lunch hour. Again, PTA celebrates learning. The Living Learning Landscape celebrates learning. The staff celebrate learning. The administration, the Board of Education works really hard at providing a top-tier program for your children. Dr. McDowell, coming into the Collingswood District, is doing the same. So we're all here together to make this year a year where we can celebrate learning with joy. And again, it's a choice. So I say to you, focus on the positive. And I have a little surprise for you here at the end. So we celebrate learning at Zane North. The PTA provides opportunities like teacher wish lists. These are some materials that they provided. They do district partnerships. I have to give kudos to Mrs. Farrow and the team for the track and field event that happened this year. That was a huge event, and how that helped. And of course, it worked with Nurse Butler and the nurses. It worked also with the PE teachers. And we had a very successful event. So the PTA helped the staff, which helped the kids, and that's why we're all here. Lastly, community building is a big part. We did have our little Mr. Softy treat, which was a fun time. We had Friendship Day. We had a whole host of activities. So learning at Zane North rises to the top. And you know, with social emotional learning, they do tell us the fact. If you have a really joy-filled environment where social emotion is strong, typically you have high achievement and you have minimal discipline problems. And that's the fact at Zane North. We have high achievement and we have minimal discipline problems because we have a very strong community. So we invite you to be a part of that community this year. And I wanted you to think before you leave tonight, not of what you might be fearful of, but kind of what Emerson says. He says, scatter joy. And like little Winnie the Pooh told Piglet, life is a journey, but in that journey, experience and joy. So at Zane North, we're providing joy for your children. And what I did is I went back and I looked at a lot of the events that we did at Zane North last year during the pandemic. We're in a pandemic now. That's not gonna prohibit us from having a successful school year and having the children have the time of their lives. When they look back on this year, it's gonna be like every year at Zane North. This is the greatest year of my life, and I'm gonna shine like a Zane North star. So why don't you join us together at Zane North, develop student leaders for the 21st century, and before you leave, think about some of these things that took place last year, because we have an exciting program for your children this year. How do I do it? Is that it? like learning. So go back and plan and be a part of the Zane North community. Remember, we're Zane North stars, where we all are born to shine. Thank you.